Hello and welcome to my creative space. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Welcome to another DIY video. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe and join this creative squad. Today is Thrift Flip Thursday and I am participating for the third time. I was invited to be the co-host this month and I am so honored, so grateful, so thankful to Shayna and Savannah for choosing me. Thank you so much. Don't forget to check out their links. They will be in my description box, as well as the link to the playlist where you can find lots of inspiration from lots of great talented people. Be sure to check it out. And now let's get started. For my first flip, I am taking this canvas I picked up from Goodwill and I am going to remove the picture off of this. I usually just remove it with the pliers, but these ones are heavy duty. They're not like the Dollar Tree ones. So I end up switching to a crafting knife and that worked a lot better. Once I removed everything, this is what it looks like. Now I am going to take these two pieces. It was a scrap of wood I had and I just cut it to the size and I place one at the top and one at the bottom. And I am going to take these super big jumbo popsicle sticks that I picked up, these ones from Walmart, and I already had them. And honestly, the reason why I put these pieces of wood at the top and the bottom is because I wasn't gonna have enough to cover the whole thing, so that's why. But anyway, so I am just going to start cutting them all to the size I need them. I am going to be gluing them inside this frame and I am trying to create a shutter. I think that's what it's called. And so yeah, I'm just going to be cutting all the popsicle sticks and I am going to start gluing them into place, and I will be using hot glue for this. Here is my first popsicle stick, and as you can see, I'm adding hot glue to the bottom, and that is because that is the part that will be glued to the wooden piece, and I wanted to make sure that it was going to stay in place, so I just added a lot of hot glue to that one. And then for the following popsicle sticks, I just add them to the sides and they are totally fine. And this is what it's looking like so far. I am so happy how this is looking. Now I covered this whole frame and this is what it's looking like. I am just going to reinforce again with some extra hot glue. Now I am going to take my acrylic white paint and I will be painting this window completely in white. Now you can do many things if you decide to do something like this. You could do different colors. I just went with this because my walls in my house are that really light beige color, so white pops out really well. But anyway, now let's remember what this used to look like, and here is the end result. I am so happy how this turned out. I am in love with this shutter. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For my next flip, I am taking this wall decor that looks like a plate. I am not sure what it's called, so forgive me for that. But I am going to take my acrylic white paint and I will paint this completely in white because I want to make sure everything is nice. And yeah. For my next step, I used my best friend's Cricut machine to cut some words. I want this piece to go in my kitchen, in my gallery wall that I'm working on, which if you haven't seen that video, you should check it out. But yeah, so I ended up printing these words and I didn't think I had some transfer paper, so I had some problems, but then I ended up finding some. So anyway, it was kind of a mess, so that's why I didn't show that whole thing. But after I placed my words, I ended up taking my Mod Podge to seal these words into place, and then I just took my black chalk paint and then I just distressed it with that. I like the Mod Podge look because now I feel like it actually looks like a plate. But anyway, this is what I end up doing with this piece. Now let's remember what it used to look like. And now here is the end result. I am in love of how this piece turned out. It's probably one of my favorites. Let me know what you think. For my next flip, I found this tray and I decided to paint it in white. Yes, surprise, surprise. But I am going to paint this whole thing in white, and I also gave it a couple of coats to this. Once it's completely painted, I will let it dry. I had these bells from Dollar Tree during Christmas, and I thought it was the perfect thing to use for legs. So I am going to be using the same white paint, and I am going to paint these little bells completely, and then I will let them dry. Once they dried, I will glue them to the bottom, and as you can see, I didn't paint the tray yet and at the bottom because I wanted to glue these in place first. Now that they are glued down, I will take some black paint first. I don't know why I did it like this, but I took some black paint and I distressed a little bit the edges on this little tray, and I just had fun. I just did it where I thought it needed it and where I thought it looked nice. Now I'm going to flip it over. I let it dry, by the way, but I'm going to flip it over, and then I am going to finish painting the bottom, and I will also paint the bells where they were glued together to the tray. And then I am going to take some black paint and I am going to distress the legs, and I think that gives it that really nice look. I really love how this one turns out because it's so cheap, but yet I feel like I transformed it into something that is really nice looking. Now let's remember what this used to look like, and here is the end result. I love how this little table tray turned out. Probably one of my favorites as well. For my last flip, I am taking this sign I found at Goodwill, and look at this. It was originally $29 at Hobby Lobby. But anyway, that's just like side note. I took this sign and I took it outside, sent it down, and this is what it looked like after. I thought about leaving it this color because honestly, I kind of like it. But then, you know, my walls and they're beige and it was just not gonna look good. So I ended up going for white paint again. So I painted this whole thing completely in white. Once it was painted, I let it dry. Now I used some vinyl to cut out my family's last name, and I wanted it to say the Durans family. I didn't think I had any transfer papers, so that's why the last name, it's placed like this, and I am going to paint over it. Now the other words were a little bigger, so I was able to use them as like stickers, and I just placed them where I wanted them to go. But for my last name, or our last name, it did not work out because the words were so thin, so I end up using the what you would get rid of basically, and I used that as stencil, and then I just added some chalk paint and I just paint the words. Once they were painted, I removed the vinyl and it reveals the last name. It was not perfect, not what I really wanted, but it still ended up working out. Now I took my sanding sponge and kind of just distressed the edges, and then I also end up taking my antique wax and just distressing the edges as well. I do end up adding a little bit, like the tiniest bit, throughout this whole sign, as you will see in a second, but then I end up going back in there with my sanding sponge and kind of just distressing it a little more because I didn't want it to look very distressed. And so I just went in a couple of times with some antique wax back and forth with the sanding sponge until I was happy with how it was looking. And yeah, so that's all I end up doing for this. Now let's remember what this used to look like. And now here is the end result. I love how this sign turned out regardless of the trouble it gave me. Don't forget to let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite thrift flip today. Don't forget to check out that playlist because you won't regret it. Check out Shayna's and Savannah's video as well. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. Give my video a thumbs up, and I will see you on my next DIY. Bye!